So here's a look at a couple of home run clips that Mackenzie sent in from over the weekend where she hit 3 home runs in her opening weekend. We're going to watch these in full speed first. Then we'll kind of break them down frame by frame and talk about what she's really doing well with her lower body that's allowing her to get off to this type of start. So here we go. Full speed first. So now we'll go ahead and break it down kind of frame by frame and walk you through her swing and what she's doing with her lower body. And so when you notice how she starts, the hips are already somewhat coiled to begin with. And so what Mac has to do during her swing is that when she begins to lift her front foot, you'll see that the front knee will pinch in slightly, which is something that we're very big on because we want the hips to remain coiled, and ideally we'd like the hips to get coiled while the body weight is beginning to travel forward so that we're multiplying the force in our body. So Mac will lift the knee in, and you'll see on her first move as she goes forward, the front leg kind of opens up just a little bit, but it really doesn't have a big effect on her because the hips were preset under some coil to begin with, so she's not losing any power by doing that. That's just her knowing her swing and obviously having good feel for her mechanics that day. So as she travels forward, we'll pay attention to the left foot where the toe touches first, and the foot's going to open to a 45-degree angle or slightly more. At this point, if we look at the back leg, the back hip has made its way inside of the back knee, and the back knee is now inside of the back foot. What she's essentially doing right here is that she's allowing her front leg to achieve a position that will allow the rear leg to drive the swing and start hip rotation. So let's look at how she does that. And now we're going to start paying attention to the left heel dropping and the back heel making an inside move as the front heel drops. As you see here, she's not spinning her back foot. As the front heel begins to drop, you'll see that the back knee begins to work inside of the back hip, which brings the back foot inside to where the ankle is working down towards the ground, to where the outside of the back foot is beginning to work up. This is the horizontal angle that we talk about with hitters, to where if our rear leg can achieve a 45-degree angle or lower, now we know that our back leg, which is quick with our back knee and our back foot, is now assisting the back hip to go into rotation. As you see here, the back knee is beginning to square up to the ball before the back elbow really gets into the side or into the slot here. And before contact, something very important takes place. You'll notice the back leg has completed rotation, which means the hips have completed rotation, which means that Mac has transferred all of the available energy from her legs through her torso, through her arms, and now into her bat. The proof here is that the rear leg doesn't move. You might see the front leg begin to brace and begin to stabilize because there's so much force taking place. However, this is a good sign that the rear leg is what drove rotation and what allowed her to transfer maximum energy into the bat. You'll see the front leg here will straighten out, but that's more due to the force created by hip rotation. The hips make the front leg lock out. The legs don't lock out on their own. So as you watch her left leg that's bent right before contact, the straightening really is the hips and the action that they're creating. But awesome back leg action in this first home run pitch. And if you look at, we'll look at her second swing in a minute, where she actually had a little bit better sequence, and we'll point those things out here in a couple seconds. All right, so here's Mac's second home run swing at full speed. We'll watch it full speed, then we'll go slow motion again, just like we did on the first clip. All right, so slow motion on this second clip here, and I think we're going to point out, and we're going to look at a little bit better sequence actually for Mac overall in this swing. And so the stance is the same. She's crowding the plate. She's up in the box. She's obviously not going to be challenged by the velocity that she's seeing, it looks like. So she takes the same prep mechanics. The front knee comes in a little bit. Hips stay coiled. And again, she's doing a really good job of keeping resistance on her back leg as she lifts and travels forward. As she lands, front foot opens. As the heel drops, you'll see that she's actually, if you looked at the other pitch, I know you couldn't see the ball in the shot, but she actually starts a little bit early here. And what's really important here is to notice that she's able to start the lower body early and hold back with the upper body or the hands a little bit to wait on this pitch. So right here, the ball's probably about she's a little bit farther out front than the previous swing. And so the back leg is going to go ahead and fire. And so we see here the back leg has made a strong motion to go into rotation. But the interesting thing here is notice where the rear elbow is compared to the legs. If we line that up with the first clip, the rear elbow would actually be into the side already. And so what she's doing here is demonstrating that you can go into rotation with the lower body and still resist with the hands to wait on a pitch. So she's letting this ball travel, but she's not letting the ball travel with the lower body that's not actually working. She goes ahead and begins the lower body, but resists with the upper body to wait on this pitch a little bit more. And so you see the back leg is ahead of the rear elbow a little bit more, which creates more stretch, which creates more power. And so again, the things that we notice here, the back leg is through rotation, which means hips are through rotation, which means the back leg has driven the rotation, or the hips have driven the rotation with the back leg. And so she's completely transferred all of her energy prior to contact into the barrel. The hips are going to go ahead and lock out the front leg forward, but look at how low this back knee is, and look at that great angle right there. But also look at how it's stable. The biggest thing for Mac here, the reason that she's going to hit for more average and more power now, is that when this rear leg gets to this position, she's stable. You notice there's a lot of movement that gets her into this position here, but once she's here, the body's relatively quiet and stable. Hardly any movement with the waist or the lower body, so that her hand path is unaffected. She can put the barrel where her hand-eye coordination has told her to do that. Mac's off to a great start, and if she keeps swinging like this, she may be talking about double-digit home runs before district play starts this year. Good job, Mac.